Hey guys, this is Eli, aka Red Tyranno here, and over the past weekend, I went to the Dubuque, Iowa regional for Yu-Gi-Oh, and I have here two of my friends with me to go over deck profiles and talk about the weekend and how they think the meta is going so far. So we're gonna start here with my friend Collin. Um, could you go over how you did and let's go over the deck profile.
Well, I'm Collin. I played branded Despia. I got top eight. The event I won six and lost two. Lost my final round and lost a round four, if I remember correctly. Most of my matchups was against Sprite. The only two things I didn't fight were Sprite were one Tearlaments and then a one Eldritch deck. The next most, or want to go back? Want to go into the deck now?
Sure, let's do that.
I mean, so it's just like the basic stuff. Three Alibur, obviously needed. Through Tragedy. Also needed two, nothing really explained. One Dramaturge and one of the spicier ones, Dramaturge. Ablib and then one Dramaturge. The one Dramaturge helps go for games sometimes. It's very useful to get an extra body on board if you need to have another body on board. It's like other effects never really come up as much. It just as like a nice beater, you can always summon in like battle phase or whatnot with your branded spells. And then the other ones, three of Elbaz, very powerful going second card, and just free super poly. It's really great to like discard like Edgem chains off the effect, so you also get like the poly and another material afterwards. And also if your opponent like interrupts your normal branded fusion plays, like they imperm your Albion or Lubellion, and you drew into the Fallen Elbaz, you can always use poly to like go into the monster.
Okay. How often did you go into Albaz? Like how often did you use the effect to like fusion?
Like if I if I had in my opening hand and I didn't see like branded fusion immediately, I'd always normal Sunfell and Albaz. It was always a lot of my games boiled down to Dark Ruler, Fallen Albaz effect, and I would just wipe their old field because I would fuse off one of the problem boss monsters, Mirror Jade, another problem boss monster, and I'd just battle phase the other one and then set up, and then they just don't really come back from that.
Wow.
And then one of the support Elbaz's Albion is just like a nice add if you have nothing good to add off of branded losses, which is the package I'm playing. I'm playing the branded loss version.
Okay.
Recurry is also the same thing too. Like if you just need a monster negate, it's a good add. It's also a good banish off of other effects. It comes up a little bit, but I'd still just play at one. At most, maybe play at two, and then one of Kit. Personally, I like Kit, even though it's a little bit of a win more card in the deck. Sometimes it helps fix hands and it helps go for poly turns because I also play Theater. And if I don't get access to the edge and change part of the deck, I just can't get into poly. And with her, I can get into poly, which goes for like what the end board I always want to end with, which is Masquerade and Mirror Jade with like Albion and Graveyard to set up a Brandon Red. It's usually what I want to do, and this helps me get to that end board a lot more consistently. In the last couple of monsters, the Edge and Chain package, like perfect for the deck. And then Snow, best card in the deck. Then for spells, just the average 3 branded fusion, 3 opening. Nothing really be said there for those cards. 2 Brandon Red, because we do play the Banishment. I always side this out when going into game 2, unless I'm playing a strategy that can't really OTK very well, or having a good banish is good. Like I always kept this for my Eldritch matchup. The banishing Eldritch is really good. And then one lost. Every single time I had this card on field, I would win the game. And it's always funny to just call your chain links on Brandon loss, and then your opponent's about to activate something, and then you just tell them no, and then they just be like, "Oh, okay," and then you just blow up their entire field with Chimera. And you also add like do this on your opponent's turn, it's so amazing. You can just add Mercury off of this effect, and then just have another monster negate in hand, and it's beautiful. And then Theater, I personally like Theater a lot. It just allows the deck to have a consistent poly at all times, and they have to respect it all the times. Like I've had like this stop so many times because it just threats so much because it just threatens out a guy guarding Chimera at any point in the game state and whatnot. The other one's Patchwork, like one of the best cards in the deck. Poly for the Patchworks. Allure Darkness, just always nice to see more cards in your deck. The Allure Darkness. It's nice to banish Tragedy off of this, or Mercurier to get the free add off that, but
Yeah.
it just helps see more of your deck, which is kind of what you want to do if you don't have that great of a hand. Then, like, some of the going second cards we have Super Poly. This would be a lot better if I had a better Super Poly target in my deck, but I picked the wrong Super Poly target for this tournament. So it didn't come up as much, but I know if I had the Garhura Fusion Monster, I would have probably legit been top 4 this tournament because it would have came up in my last game. I would have probably won. And then probably the best card I think I've ever saw, Dark Ruler No More. This is essentially an FTK against every Splight board I activated this against. Because I did this, full comboed, wiped their board, set up one branded in red against their deck, and then a Snow and Grave. And that was essentially OTK against every Sprite player I played today. I mean, not today, but yesterday. And then a couple 1-0s, one a Foolish. This is just another starter card to help get to Branded Fusion, and then one called by. Just stop Ash Blossom, basically.
So what
It's
does that put to
45
count?
in main.
45 in main.
At 45.
Is there
Yeah.
anything besides what you mentioned earlier? Is there anything you'd like to add or change about your main deck after knowing what happened at the event?
Nothing in the main deck. I really like the main deck. At most, maybe cut like one of the. I don't know. If I was to like change anything, it would be like adding like one more Mercurier by cutting something else to have like a second one, just to have another target advantage for the lure. But other than that, I really like this deck and how it's built.
Yeah, it seems pretty solid.
Yeah. And then for extra deck 3, I'll be on this like came up a bunch because I made Snow a lot. I made Snow active a lot by doing this, and I always had it send 2 in a lot of my combos. So I was always at the third one in a lot of my game states. So having 3 came up. Tulu Bellion. The Tulu Bellion never really came up, but it came up to me last tournament, so it's always nice to have one of these just to recycle in case you really need that. And 2 Mirror Jade. 2 is necessary. I've made 2 in multiple games, and then bring up the second one while the other one's banished. It's just so good because it just gives you so much more breathing room. 1 Titanic Cloud. This is just another send off from Mirror Jade. If I get to bring this out more than once during a turn, just add in a Fallen Alabaz monster to your hand or special summon it during the end phase to just super poly it the next turn is such a great thing to have. Then 2 Masquerade and 1 Quertus. Masquerade, this card, everyone at the start of every turn, they had either Imperm or Dark Ruler this card, because they were just scared of paying 600. So it just bait out so many like free negates and just allowed me to like scare my opponent to a point where I was able to win most of my stuff by just the fact of being on the field. And this won me multiple games during time. They just can't really play into Masquerade in most combo decks like Sprite and whatnot. Dubuque Guardian Chimera. It's definitely necessary to play 2. I summoned 2. A lot of my games I actually summon Chimera and it just beat them, and then I just summon a second Chimera on like another turn, and it just like completely devastated the opponent, especially if branded losses on field. It's nuts. And then Dragos Stapelia. This is normally what I summon off of the banishment trap card, but I can also like summon it with my own stuff if I want to use Mirror Jade as poly material for the original inboard. And the biggest regret of the deck is my dragon. I should have had a different super poly target. This was complete like ass in the tournament. I'll be honest, this was terrible. This never comes up during like any matchup that I faced against.
Yeah,
It's
it's
terrible.
two monsters plus or two monsters with the same attribute and different types, right?
Different type that like never comes up. Like maybe it would come up more against like Tearlaments, but I only faced one Tearlament player, and he was. I don't want to talk about that guy.
Okay.
And then let's go to the side deck then. So 3 Twin, 3 Cosmic, 1 Duster, 1 Rid Reboot. The only thing I don't like the face against is Floodgates. So I want to get rid of Floodgates. Therefore, I play all back row removal, basically. And it worked, because against my Eldritch player, I just like do this, and then my next turn I do this. And I just won that game, because there's nothing he could do against 3 back row removals. So,
Wow.
and there's not much like you can really side for this deck. So like, because you're not playing hand traps. I mean, the other stuff, this package, or like flu. We didn't play any flu, but I heard there were flu, and if they were flu, I'd have the out for it. So
Is it mainly for flu, or were you
it's
able to
mainly for
side
flu.
in this weekend at all?
I didn't side in it at all. I haven't sided this. I haven't sided in the zombie stuff package because I just have not played against flu at all
And
after I got to the deck.
And that's the only deck you really sided in for, or that's the idea anyway.
That's the idea. Is just to have a counter for that strat because I hate flu. I hate stun like decks. I think flu's a stun deck. So just a way to stop them from doing their stuff is good. And the only going first card is like not that much I could realistically play as a going first because I just can't play anti-spell. I rely on spells too much. Deep Air, it's only meant to slow. It's just that's all it does. It's just to slow down the game state. Like there's no point to have Dark Ruler going in. Like if I know I'm going first, so it's just like one of those cards. It could be like a Point of the Red Lotus, I guess, or I could maybe like put like Artifact Scythe package in here, but that's mostly what this is. This is. I mean, it came up a couple times, but it never like each time I activated it, I never won the game off of just this. It was just this plus other stuff that won me going first. And going first, like with Despia against Light, is very easy because just having like a simple setup is enough to just OTK like little sprite hands, and then my last two was Pinkertops, Change of Heart. The idea was Pinkertops was supposed to go against like Splight matchups because this just trades with Toad very well. And Change of Heart just trades very well against Tearlaments. I think. I mean, I won a game against the Tearlament player because I Change of Hearted one of his cards and was able to beat him with that. But that's the idea. I don't want to put Change of Heart against the Splight because I don't want Toad to give them a Change of Heart. That's just too much for me to deal with. But yeah, that's my deck.
You mentioned a couple of your matchups, but do you want to go over your matchups that you had this weekend and just kind of talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. So I just know my first matches were like the first three were no, first four were all splites. No, oh no, first three were splites. I lost my third round. Oh no, I lost my fifth round against Splite because he had Mystic Mine and I just didn't draw my out to mine. And then he went first on the third game, and I believe I forgot if he had a D barrier or a Scythe in his deck though going first, so he just like kind of floodgated me and I was unable to really do anything past that, or I bricked. And then my last game was against another Splite player that I lost to. He also played mine as well. He was on the Adventure Splite though.
Okay.
Which I almost pulled off a victory in the end on just life points, but I made a misplay that basically allowed him to get game. But the Eldritch player, that was a pretty easy matchup because he just didn't draw any of his big floodgates in game one. And then in game 2, I basically drew all my back row removal just to get rid of his entire field. So it was a pretty easy matchup for that one. Most Splight matchups are essentially the same end board, so I don't like for the turn types of Splight decks, even though they're basically all the same because they just end on like a similar end board. All I know was I Dark Rulered them, and then I wiped their field, and I just essentially set Branded in red, Mirror Jade, and then Snow Engrave, and that's just how I mostly won mine. I mostly won my game 1, and then in game 2 I'd maybe win, but then in game 3 I'd always just win. It was pretty easy, most of the matchups. Like I said, the only card I lost to realistically was mine, so. And mine just won, like, the last 3 big events in Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's like whatever, you know?
Yeah, no, that card seems to be the problem, and it's taken long enough for Konami to realize. Maybe I'm not shouting out Konami, but you know what you did wrong. So you got top 8 this weekend. How was your overall like tournament experience? I know you mentioned there was a little bit of problem. We don't have to go over that, but like overall, how do you
We don't have
think?
to go either that problem or the other problem, the 2 problems I encountered. They're just, I mean, I guess there's always bad apples in every tournament setting, but I just can't believe I found 2 bad apples in my experience. It was very, the judge, I did not get any bad rulings on judges. Everything was fully explained to them, and everything was ruled correctly in my opinion, and I'm just happy I got top 8. It was
What
a
did
nice.
I
It
was
was
gonna
just a
say
nice.
what did you think of the venue and everything? Just
It was
confirm.
nice to have a smaller venue where people weren't like crushing each other within chairs and like being squished. Like
Is
I honestly thought it was a Slight dominated game because I faced 6 Slight and 2 other decks, but Eric's gonna basically talk about his matchups, and he had completely different matchups than I did. Apparently, I hit every Slight player that was playing Slight. Apparently, but yeah.
I guess if you don't have anything else to say, is there any shout outs or anything you want to mention before we move on?
Well, shout out to Oscar for letting me buy the deck. Shout out for Eric for allowing me to buy some of the other cards I was missing for this deck. Shout out to the rest of the friends I came. Shout out to Eli, who's recording me right now. And I think that's it.
All right, I think we'll move on to the next one. Thanks
Okay.
for stopping by.
You're welcome.
And now we're here with my friend Eric, who got top 4. Eric, you want to talk about how the tournament went, and you go. Well, we'll go over your deck profile first, but then talk about how your tournament went and everything.
Yeah. So I'm Eric Gerde. I got 4th place at the Dubuque, Iowa Regional, and I played Tearlaments, Danger, Frog. So yeah, let's just jump right into the profile. So I don't think I need to talk too much about it. So I played 3 Reinhardt, 3 Siren, 3 Havnus, and then 3 Merle. I think this ratio is kind of standard at this point. I know some people are maxing it out, so I want to do the same thing. Reinhardt is just like a 1-card starter for this deck. Helps you get into Kikalos, and then Kikalos lets you either add a defensive card or gets you basically Merle, so you can know A. And then Siren, she's like another, I want to say, starter card. She's only a starter if you have another Tearlaments monster in your hand, but essentially is really hard to interact with her, and like the only cards to like really stop her is probably with Ash Blossom and Gamma. But even then, you really don't want to Gamma this deck because they just get their effects whenever they're destroyed by card effects. Halfness is like a pseudo hand trap kinda. It just requires you point activating a monster effect, and you just special summon her and mill 3. And then with Merle, like I mentioned, she just mills 3. So yeah. So 12 names, and then to add more names into the deck, I play 4 of the fields, or technically 4, so 3 playing in the Terraforming. The field spell is actually insane, especially against the mirror match, which helped me out. I want to say my round 6 and 8. I don't think 8, but mostly 6. Like it's a really good card that helps you like what do you call it? Like pop your opponent's card. So yeah, so as long as you have the field spell, it's definitely really good against the mirror match, and probably I would say like against the Eldritch matchup as well, which there's a lot of Eldritch players at the event. And then I play 2 of the trap cards, Soliak. I was playing the Meta Noise instead of the second one, but I opted to change this one because during the first week of Power of the Elements of release, a lot of players were playing Meta Noise as there was a popularity in Spray. But since it's looking like Tearlaments is like the better deck, which I firmly believe that it was already the better deck, 2 Solic is kind of standard now because it's like a Infirm. And also, if you were to mill it, it lets you add a Tearlament monster from deck to hand. So yeah. And then Instant Fusion, I would say this is actually no. I would say that this is another 1 card starter. It just helps you get into Kikalos and helps you start off your play. So
Yeah, it's crazy that
let me
card's a
see.
5. That's insane.
Yeah. And then onto the danger package. So 3 Nessie, 2 Mothman, 1 Jackalope, and 1 Snake. So I want to max out on Nessie because Nessie is an Aqua monster, which is insane for the deck. Some players are playing Mothman at 3. I'm gonna be honest, this list was actually given to me Thursday night, so I have like no like background theory or ratios of how like I should play this deck. It was literally just given to me, so I just played it out. You could technically play a Chupacabra instead of the second Mothman, but I guess like Chupacabra is kind of like bad in the early game. You really want it like in the late games. But yeah, I thought the second Mothman was kind of good enough, only because if this card was discarded, you're able to draw a card and discard a card, and if the discard card was a tier element monster, you get the effect from it. So I thought that was kind of useful. Yeah, so those were the danger cards, and then onto the Frog Engine. 3 swap, and then 1 Ronin Tonin. So the reason why I'm playing the Frog Engine is this deck really lacks in having an Omnigate on board, and by having these cards in it, it kind of solves the problem of beating Mystic Mine, which is a really powerful card right now in this meta. So having the Frog Engine just helps facilitate guaranteeing a Omnigate on board. So like that, and then Rachel Snow. This card is broken. I don't know why this card was ever released off the ban list, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Why?
yeah, broken card. And then I played 2 Pop Desires. This card was, I wouldn't say it was like okay for me. Throughout the whole tournament, every time I see Pop Desires and I resolve it, I always drew the second Desires, which I don't know how. Like I could you not? I
Like
always saw the
off,
second Desire.
like off
Yeah,
of the
I
first
always
one.
drew. Yeah, I always drew like the second Desire. There's like no game that I ever banished it or not drew it. It was always like the second card that I drew.
Wow. How?
So I don't know. Card says draw 2, but apparently this weekend was draw 1. So
Wow.
so yeah.
I have no words.
but this card is insane. It does say draw 2. Just like don't be unlucky like me. And then for my non-engine, play 3 Dark Ruler, and then 3 Super Poly. So these 2 cards are really insane against the Sprite matchup. Lucky enough for me, I did not play any Sprite players. which is surprisingly because you would think that, people would be playing Sprite, which is true, but throughout the whole tournament I did not play a single Sprite player. So luckily I dodged all of them. But this deck does have a really good Sprite matchup. It's usually like an auto win, depending how you play it out, or sequence your plays and focus on your end board. So I just thought having these 2 cards, or like these 6 cards, just makes it easier for the matchup. And then, not sure if this is really a surprise card, but I'm playing 2 Dimiscus. The point of this card is, since I think the EU Championship ended, people were playing the Beat Cop and Mystic Mine. So I wanted like an out to Mystic Mine, because Galaxy Cyclone was not gonna work out very well. Because if Beat Cop is on the field, like it just protects Mystic Mine, so it makes it harder to like out it.
Mm-hmm.
So with Dimiscus, what it does is you get to target the card on, or I believe is face-up card. That's just cost, and on resolution you discard a card and it gets banished. What's really nice about it is this card is not cost, so if you discard a tier element card, or basically a tier element card, but specifically if you discard a tier element monster, you get their effect and you get to fusion summon. So that's really nice.
Powering off.
Also, it's a level 2 Aqua, so you could also do some of the Sprite combos with this card. And if this card was on field, you could use it as material to go into Kalos or Kaleidoheart. So there's a lot of synergy with this card. So if I were you, I would definitely pick up this card right now. It's kind of nice. Yeah. That's it for the main deck. It's 41 cards in the main. And then onto the extra field center token cards. And then, so I have 1 Kaleidoheart, 2 Kikalos, 1 Dragostepaleo,
Powering on. Mic
Garura,
off.
and then
Charging
Dragon.
battery.
So
Hold on. Sorry. Before I get going, my headphones got out. For the main deck, was there anything? I don't know if you mentioned this or not. Was there anything in the main deck you would have changed or like to have differently, knowing how the tournament played out and stuff?
to be honest, I don't know if there's any changes I would make. I would definitely test out Chupacabra. Like I mentioned, that this deck was given to me Thursday night. I didn't really have a real time to test and see what card choice I want to make. So I'll definitely take out the second Mothman to test out Chupacabra.
Okay.
But I think that's just about it. I personally prefer playing board breakers. I never believe in hand traps will solve the problem. Just board breakers just make it easier for me to crack the board. But yeah, that's the only changes I would make.
All right.
But
yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So with these 6 fusion monsters, you could make an argument that you could play a second Dragostepaleo over the Kikalos. But during the grind game, the second Kikalos comes up a lot. So I just wanted to play the second one over the first one. And then this card Garura is actually insane. The amount of times I summon him and just link it off, either for IP, Dark, or Curious, and have the ability to draw one is absolutely insane. So definitely a really good card. And Mud Dragon, I technically never made Mud Dragon throughout the whole tournament. The main purpose of this card is being a level 4, which you can make into Abyss Dweller, which I'm about to go in next. But yeah, and then obviously I think Kaleidoheart is my boss monster. Just being able to shuffle a card on the field back to deck, and also if you were to nib me on my turn, it just has the recursion of just special summoning it off, and then you could end with the Dragostepaleo or Kikalos. But yeah, so this deck doesn't really lose to nib. You just gotta know how to sequence your plays. So those 6, and then for the XC, Abyss Dweller. This card is actually insane against the tier matchup. If all you gotta do is literally just end on Abyss Dweller and then pass turn, and there's nothing they could do. You just go ahead in the standby phase. You just use Abyss Dweller, and they can't do anything. They can't Dark Ruler you. they can't superpower you. They literally just like I don't think they can set up a really good optimal board against you. So I think I made it once against a Brand tier player, and he just did not have enough to like kill me. So just the one, Gigantic and Toad. Again, since I'm playing the Frog Engine, Gigantic just helps go into Sprite Elf and then go into Toad. So yeah, that's it for the XC.
From Toad, did you set anything cool this weekend? Anything weird?
Funny enough, I sent a runic card. I didn't know any
really?
of. Yeah, I didn't know what runics did, but I set one and I didn't really activate because I didn't know what they did. But I guess that was cool.
Wow.
But yeah, Toad was definitely insane. Onto the links. So I played Dark. Obviously, Dark is really insane. Just being able to steal your opponent's level 2 Dark Monster if you're playing against the Sprite matchup, or you could steal against the Mirror match. You could steal their Merly and then use Merly effect to mill 3 of your own. And since Merly's a level 2, you can go back into, or you could overlay it and then go into Gigantic. So that's really cool. IP. I made IP a few times. I don't know if I see myself playing IP in the future. I probably should have gone over this, but I wasn't playing Redoer. I didn't feel comfortable playing Redoer because during testing it just never came up for me. Okay. So I just thought like IP just made the most sense. Is a link too, so like just in case if you were like locked out of what do you call that? Special summoning except for 2s. IP is just there. So her, and then I play Sprite Elf. This card is insane. I don't know why this card is generic. It's really broken.
Yeah, no. You can grab like Hulk or your opponent's like Charmers or IP or yeah.
Yeah, the Elf is just insane. And then Curious, this card is actually really broken. The amount of times where if I were thinking about my end board, and if I lose to a Dark Ruler, I usually send off a Snow. Because Snow is like your backup plane if you get Dark Ruler. Or say if you want to make more plays and have a better end board, you can send a Tearlaments monster and then start fusing off, make Kaleido Heart or kick Hallows. But Curious is actually really insane. And then I play Bomber Dragon and Ceroboros. So in testing, I made Bomber Dragon, but throughout the whole tournament, I did not make it. With Ceroboros, I never made Ceroboros in testing, but I made it a few times at the regional. I don't know how impactful Ceroboros was, to be honest. It's mainly there as like a beast stick. For example, I played against this one Punk Adventure deck, and he had a hot red. It was 3-2, and he negated my Kaleido Heart. So it was kind of hard for me to like think of how I can beat over hot red. But luckily, I read Ceroboros, and it gains 200 for each banish card. So Ceroboros was definitely big enough to like beat over they call it hot red, and I was able to go for game. And then the other time was against it was a Flunder player. I don't know why I made this card. I guess it was just a huge beast stick. But yeah, yeah, I think Ceroboros definitely did his part. Definitely helped me out. And yeah. So
is there anything in the extra you change? Just kind of like main deck. Is there anything really?
Like I said, I might want to test out we call it Time Thief Redoer by taking out IP for it. But only time could tell. I'm not gonna try to force myself to play a card that I'm not really comfortable with yet. It just Redoer, like I get why people play Redoer, it just never came up for me, to be honest.
Okay.
But yeah, that's like the only thing that would probably change. And then onto the side deck. So I know I said like I'm not a huge fan of hand traps. I like board breakers, but these hand trap solves the problem against the tier matchup, the mirror. So I play 3 Gamma and then the driver. So the main purpose of Gamma is if your opponent summons a Fist Dweller, they're forced to use Bistler in your standby phase, so they could just play around Darkler. So if I open up Gamma, I can essentially just Gamma their Bistler, and I have 2 bodies on board. And what's funny is Gamma's a level 2, so there's synergy with the Sprite play, so you could go into Gigantic with it, or you can make Elf. Only time that I actually saw Gamma, I want to say it was mainly against the Thunder player. Game 3, I put Gamma in going first because this deck struggles against D-Shifter, mainly. So, Draw basically D-Shifter me, like he opened up the Gamma, and I Gammaed him, and I was able to set up a board, and he couldn't break it. But yeah. Then I play 3 Joel. Same theory with Gamma. With Joel, it limits the tier player of setting up in the same board, and sometimes they can't set up a Abyss Roller. So Joel is just like basically an auto win. I'm not sure how I feel about Joel moving forward, or at the tournament. I meant to say at the tournament, I didn't know how I felt about Joel, only because I wasn't sure how much or how many players are gonna play the Danger version of the deck. Some were playing the Punk, which you can't really Joel them. There's the branded version, which they don't really add. So this could have been like a Ghost Reaper. But I just thought like I just want to have like coverage for against the mirror match. So Joel did his work when I needed it. So yeah. These cards, and then play my back row. Hate, so 3 Twin Twister, Duster, Red Reboot. Again, there's a lot of like Trapstone Eldritch players in this tournament, so I just wanted coverage with this. You could say, I mean, I haven't had time to test it. Probably moving forward, I might play Cosmic over Twin, but the thing is with Twin is it synergizes well with the Danger cards, being able to discard. And yeah, I think Twin definitely worked out over the weekend. Moving forward, I don't know if it will be like a Cosmic Cyclone or not. The previous list, my friend showed me, it was actually a Gaga Cowboy and 2 twins, but I just felt comfortable that I could win without using Cowboy, so I just put in their twin. So yeah.
Yeah. Side decking extra deck cards sometimes feels bad too. So.
Yeah, and then finally 3 pointers. I don't think I ever sided, or no, okay, I did side in against pointers against some of my opponents. I think I sided in against the Thunder player. That's all I can remember, to be honest. The main purpose of the pointers is going first. You lose to like Mystic Mind mainly, so being able to like check their hand, see if they have any Mystic Minds, or you could take out a starter card for them. But yeah, I think pointers was okay. Most of the times I don't, or there were times where I wanted to put a pointer in, but there's like 5 minutes left in time, so I didn't want to risk of paying 2K and my opponent just like purposely slow playing. So yeah, I think I don't think I only like put it in once against the Thunder that I can remember. Yeah, that's it. In the side deck. Yeah.
Anything out of there? You said you weren't sure about Droll and Twin going forward. Is there anything you might like, swap in, or you don't want to give away the spice? I understand.
Okay, so for the Droll, like I wasn't sure for this weekend. Moving forward, I definitely think Droll should be played. Only if people are moving towards more of the Danger engine. With Twin versus Cosmic, I still have to test out really. Maybe Twin is better than Cosmic because of this synergy with the Danger cards. But Cosmic is just like it's another way to beat Mystic Mind if they had beat Cup, which I was really respecting after Joshua Schmidt got top 8, and that's like more of the better sprite build. It's just like people prefer hand traps, which I get is a regional. You're not sure what you're gonna play against, so yeah.
Yep. No, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go over your matchups quickly, or?
Yeah, I can go over my matchups.
Okay.
So round 1, I played against Brandon Olich. Fortunately, I lost that round. He how he was able to he wasn't even able to break my board. What he did really was he summoned Lava Golem, and then during the standby phase, he burned me, and then after he burned me, he activated Metaverse instead of Mystic Mine, and there was 45 seconds left in time, so I didn't really want to bother. I didn't really want to bother of playing it out. My next top deck was Duster, but I didn't know like if he's gonna like slow play me on purpose or stuff, so I just gave him the win. But he was a really good player, so I wouldn't think he would slow play me on purpose. There was just like no way that I could like come back after 45 seconds left in time.
Mm-hmm.
Round 2, I played against Punk Adventure. I 2-0'd him. I won the die roll, and I beat him. Game 2, it was very interesting because he activated a set admin effect. I changed Gamma, and he crossed out Gamma, which I was kind of confused because I wasn't really expecting him to play Gamma going first. And he also discarded a Dark Ruler, which was kind of weird. So his going first side deck pattern was kind of weird. And I guess he forgot the Gamma because I activated a card effect and he used a house effect, and I just changed a Gamma. So yeah, I just used it on my turn, I guess. So it was a 2-0. Round 3, I played against Runic. I didn't know anything what it did. I was kind of nervous because he was banishing a lot of my cards from my deck to the banner zone.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they really set up in the same board. So I was able to 2-0 him. Round 4, I played against Ulich. Again, I was really scared against the matchup. I believe I won the die roll. Actually, no, I've lost the die roll, but the player didn't set up like in the same, or she didn't have her floodgates all set up, so I was able to play through it. Game 1, game 2, I forgot what I drew. I don't think I drew anything, but again, she didn't really have any floodgates to help her back up her like what do you call that, her trap cards. And I was just able to play through it. So another 2-0. Round 5, which was the most important round, it was against Funders, and luckily I won the die roll. I didn't get D-shifter game 1, so I was able to set up my board. Game 2, I don't think I drew optimally. And then game 3, again with the whole D-shifter, I just game-mode it and I was able to combo off. So I won that 2-1. Round 6, I played against Brandtier. I 2-0'd him. There was a real weird ruling that came up, which my opponent was like somewhat cheated against me. It's just like he didn't declare it a card effect, and by the time like not like 5 turns, but like 5 plays were happening, he was trying to add back a card to his hand. I told him he never declared the effect, and then there was a judge, and the judge ruled in his favor. I could have appealed for it, but I don't know, I was just too nice, and I was like, okay, that's fine, it's whatever. But I just ended up beating him 2-0.
Oh, wow.
Round 7, I played against Sky Strikers. He won the die room, but Sky Strikers, they just made me go first. I don't think he opened up any hand traps. No, he opened up Nib, but I was able to play through it. And how I was able to play it is I just made sure that his Nib was sticking on field. There's so many chances where I could have gotten rid of it, but I don't want to risk of him activating any of the Sky Striker cards because he had no way to get rid of it. So yeah, so I won game 1. Game 2, I thought I was in a good spot because I have more life points than him, but he was able to like see engine and was able to take my cards and then beat me in time. So it was a tie. Unlucky, but oh well. Round 8, I played against a Danger Tier, the mirror match. This was another most important round that I needed to win. So I won the die roll, and then I can't remember how I set up my board. I think I misplayed. I was supposed to set up with an IP Masquerena, but I just totally forgot about that. And then he was being really greedy. He activated so I have Diamiscus set, and then he summoned Unicorn. He had 1 card, and he discarded his last card in hand. And then he targeted this card because he was trying to go for game. And I chained Diamiscus, and he was not respecting that. So he wasn't able to go. He wasn't able to beat me, or go for OTK, and then I was able to win on the crackback. And then game two, he whiffed on his mills, and I was just sniping his danger cards. So I ended
Wow.
up beating him. So yeah, so I ended up
Nice.
with the record of 6 wins, one loss, one tie, placing fourth place. Fun fact: I did not drop a single game one. So I won 3 die rolls and then lost all of them, but I did not drop a single game one.
Wow.
So that's insane.
That is insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the tournament or the venue or anything about your overall experience there that you want to talk about or comment on?
Yeah, I think the event ran smoothly. It was really unfortunate that it was taking place at like a venue. Like, there's like so many people there in a small room, so it was kind of hard to like get through aisles or get through like the aisles in
Yeah.
each table.
Mhm.
And but aside from that, I think it ran smoothly in my opinion. Despite the guy that was like not declaring his card effects, it didn't really matter to be honest. Like I said, as long as I was able to beat him, I'm not too salty about that. For those that are watching, make sure you always appeal to the head judge. I didn't because I was too nice. Don't be like me. If you don't think a ruling is going your way, always appeal. But yeah, aside from that, I think everything was fine. Being able to just talk to my friends, checking up on them, and yeah, that was it.
I guess any shout outs before we leave here?
Yeah, so I actually have a lot of shots. So I'll say shouts to you, Eli, for having me on your channel. Shouts to my girlfriend for being my #1 supporter. Shouts to Sebastian Todd. He actually gave me the list Thursday night, and he said, "Hey, I think you should run this list." And he showed me like I guess the spice card Dimiscus. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. Only had one night of really testing, and again, I was able to get fourth place, which is amazing. Shouts to all my friends that came with me. So like Oscar, Collin, Thomas, Nick. Shouts to them. Specifically, shout goes to Oscar and my other friend Tyler. He's from California. They helped me test with this deck, so huge shouts to them. And then shouts to the TDS boys in Madison. So Darian Hahn, Tommy, Blake, Rio, Varen, try to think who else, Cleo, Jen, Jesse. If I'm forgetting any of your guys' names, I'm sorry. And then shouts to the Wranglers group chat or Discord server. And yeah, that's about it.
I guess before we end the long video here off, Colin and or Eric, do you guys have anything else you want to say about just either how everything went? I know I asked you before, but how everything went, or how the state of the game is currently, or
Um,
Let me just
well, if you
on a note on the event. I feel like me and Eric had completely different experiences the whole time.
Colin complained about being a tier 0 format, even though yesterday I did not play any Sprite,
But I played
which I'm really
Blades.
surprised.
wow.
But yeah, it was just really weird. A lot of people were actually surprised I played Zero Splay. I'm surprised too, but thank God I didn't play against them. I didn't want to get sacked by them.
I
But
sacked.
yeah,
Yeah, I scribbed out unlike these two, and I played 0 tier. Like I played all Sprite or like random regional decks, and it's crazy that both Colin and I played only against Sprite really, and then Eric's like the opposite, where he played against tier.
He
Wow.
was lucky
Yeah.
because he lost round 1. That's
yeah. If I haven't lost round 1 to the Eldritch player, maybe I might play a few Sprites. I guess shout out to him, really. If I didn't lose against him, I wouldn't be I probably wouldn't get fourth place. But yeah.
All right. Well,
Overall,
sorry. What was that?
overall tournament experience was great.
Collin, you
was only great because I got top 8. If I didn't get top 8, there'd be a lot of more words to talk about. Another hour conversation, essentially.
Well, all
Also,
right.
Dan
Congratulations to you guys. Good job at doing top 8 and top 4 respectively.
Thank you.
It was a really fun time, and I think for overall it was a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah,
I think that's the end of the video, though. For those of you who stick to the end, you're the real champs. You're the real friends there. Continue to subscribe and comment and see the cool interactions in the comment section and stuff like that. It's really nice. Be nice to these guys. They did really well, especially at such a semi-competitive event. I would say it's really competitive, but that's my opinion. Otherwise,
very tidy down there.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Keep being awesome, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.